being presented by the Student Bar Association of the Southern University Law Center. I want to welcome the current mayor, the Honorable Sharon Weston Broome, and the other candidates for the mayor presidency of the city of Baton Rouge and East Baton Rouge to this debate. I also want to, on behalf of the president of the Southern University system and the chancellors of the other campuses involved in the Southern University system, welcome you and really thank you for sharing your time to be heard about very important issues that will be dealt with in this election. I want to commend the Student Bar Association for putting this together. This is an example of the student leadership development we have at Southern University Law Center. Again, I'm so very, very proud of what they've been doing and what's going to go on tonight. It's ironic that this debate will be held at the same evening as the last presidential debate. And again, for you all to take your precious time to share your views with us is truly, truly appreciated. So I'm going to hand over this whole process to the Student Bar Association President, Mr. E.Eric Guirard, who is also a member of the Southern University Board of Supervisors, and proceed as scheduled. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you for that, Chancellor, that great introduction. We'll start off with saying some brief guidelines as well as having a few questions that the community wanted to hear tonight from the candidates that's running for Mayor of Baton Rouge. I would like to thank the candidates and the members of the audience for joining us for this evening for the mayor candidates forum meeting at Southern University Law Center. This has indeed been an exciting election season, and we're excited to host tonight's discussion. We will now be moved to Mr. Connor, the Evening Division President for the rules.
Good evening. My name is Mitchell Connor. I am the president of the Evening Division of the Student Bar Association at the Southern University Law Center. Today, I will give you your rules for today's event. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to reply per question. A red card will be shown on the screen to notify the candidate of 10 seconds being left. At the end of the allotted time, a verbal command time will notify the candidate to stop. The microphone will be muted at that time, and a 30-second rebuttal will be allowed if any candidate refers to another candidate within his or her rebuttal. Thank you.
Thank you. I also like to thank two more members of the Southern University Law Center's SBA, which is Dominic McCraney and Corinne Jones, for assisting us as well on tonight's event. Now, without any further ado, we will start with a 1-minute introduction for each candidate. Please wait for your name to be announced before starting. Mayor Broome.
Thank you all for giving us the opportunity to be here with you this evening. You're certainly going to hear a variety of differences tonight among the candidates who are running for mayor president. But I want to share with you tonight why I'm running for a second term to serve as your mayor president. Since I took office, we set out on a path to make transformational change at City Hall. We couple that transformative change at City Hall with making other efforts focused on issues that emerged in 2016, issues like the 2016 flood, issues like community policing in the aftermath of the shooting of Alton Sterling and our 6 law enforcement officers. we started not only addressing changes as it relates to that work, but then we carried on by working on efficiencies in city parish government. We worked on transparency by the establishment of open checkbook and a review of all of City Hall operations that resulted in us identifying $7 million in savings for the people of East Baton Rouge. And so it is because of that transformative and transparent leadership style that citizens entrusted us with another initiative, Move EBR, the largest infrastructure investment in parish history. Sure, we still have a lot of work to do to address public safety, to assure strong economic recovery. But prior to this pandemic, we were well on our way. And I know that by working together with everyone, that we will certainly see the fruits of this hard work in a second term. Thank you.
Attorney E.Eric Guirard.
Hi, my name is E.Eric Guirard, and I'm running for mayor of Baton Rouge. And first of all, I got to tell the rest of you candidates, y'all need a whole lot more clutter in your office. You need to be more like mine. I am running on the Fuse the Rouge campaign, and the idea behind that is I want to bring the city together. I want to fuse it. And if you go to fusetherouge.org, you'll see some more well thought out ideas in long form. These type of formats are given to very shortness. I am an independent, both by party, and I feel I'm the most independent of the candidates. What we have here is 4 politicians, and everyone is committed to some extent or another to outside money. I am funding my own campaign, and I feel that that sets me apart because I can be my own man and nobody owns me. Voters are only looking for a CEO. I'm the only one with large business experience. I've run an 8-figure company and founded it. I've had 70 employees. I've had a $5 million payroll. In the private sector, I outdistance all these people. So go to fusetherouge.org. You'll see an innovative, out-of-the-box campaign. Baton Rouge has a lot of problems that are not being cleaned up. And frankly, this broom don't sweep. Thank you.
Representative Marcelle.
Thank you. First of all, let me thank Southern University law students for hosting this event. I think it's great to get views from all of the candidates. I'm a former city council person and currently I'm a state representative. I've always been in a leadership, a role of leadership, whether it was on the city council or the state representative or wherever you may find me, even prior to even getting involved in politics. I believe that I have strong commitments to not only the city, but to the state. I've shown my leadership skills and I've decided to run for mayor president because I, like so many other residents, was tired of the constant flooding in our neighborhoods. I was tired of the high crime in our neighborhoods. I was tired of the lack of investment in North Baton Rouge and the lack of wealth in that area as well. I believe that we can move Baton Rouge forward with some innovative ideas in terms of workforce investment with our youth. I believe that we can change what we're doing in terms of our crime prevention areas and the crime that we're seeing going through the roof. I believe that we can invest in our communities by contributing wealth into those communities. And when I say that, I mean breaking down large contracts where small businesses can reach those. I was the author of the DBE policy along with some of my other colleagues when I was on the Metro Council. That policy required 25% to go to DBE businesses. It has not been implemented. It has been studied to death, but it has not been implemented. These are the reasons that I'm running for mayor president so that I can make Baton Rouge better.
Thank you. Mr. Piazza?
How's it going? Thank you. I'm Jordan Piazza. It's an honor to be here tonight. Thanks for having us and for setting a place for us to meet. It obviously during COVID, it's tough to get in front of groups, so we appreciate any opportunity that we have. I decided to run because I'm born and raised in Baton Rouge. I've had opportunities to relocate, and I decided a long time ago I was never going to do that because I'm passionate about Baton Rouge and I love Baton Rouge and what we have to present here. But I think we've got a lot of challenges that need to be addressed. And I'm excited to reside here and recently got married, looking to start a family. But there are a lot of things that concern me. Crime is one of them, obviously, which we'll talk about in a little while. Our $1 billion budget that our city parish has every year that I believe can be more efficiently used. Some of the contracts and quality of services that we have here in the parish, as well as our failing schools. And while it's not the direct supervision of the mayor president, I think it's time for the mayor president to get involved and insert themselves, because we have got to fundamentally fix education if we're going to fix everything else in this parish. I come from, some of you may have heard of Phil's Oyster Bar and Seafood Restaurant. It's a restaurant that was on Government Street for over 50 years. And that was what my father owned. And my brother and I reopened that in 2016. And I sold out at the beginning of this year. I'm a partner in Uncle Earl's Bar here in Baton Rouge on Perkins Road next to Jubin's. And I formerly worked for Todd Graves at Raising Cane's as his business manager for 3.5 years. And prior to that, I worked for Walk On Sports Bistro. So I have a service is what I'm all about. I'm an individual that has grown up working to serve other people. And I'm excited about this next chapter of my life. And I appreciate the platform and look forward to answering many questions as the night progresses.
Thank you. Councilman Watson?
Yes, there we go. Hi, my name is Matt Watson. I'm Metro Councilman for District 11. I've been Metro Councilman for this area for almost 4 years now. I worked for the previous council person before that and reinvented the position of legislative aid so that I would get to know everyone in every different department that I could get to know, from Planning Commission to Department of Development. I worked with moving to the third party system for expediting plan reviews so that we could get construction moving quicker. Worked with the parish attorney's office to try to work on blight, reduce residential speed limits from 30 to 25 miles an hour to try to reduce traffic related deaths by 50% with that 5-mile reduction. Then I became council person, and in doing so, worked with Lamont Cole to increase fines or community service for blight in the community in reaction to this calling from the neighborhoods. I'm the council person for District 11, but by no means do I feel like my service to the community stops at the border of District 11. Lamont had invited me to come out to the Martin Luther King Center on Gus Young because he was going to have a blight clinic. And when you get out there, and now he's got 225 people, much more than what he anticipated. We had to break the group into 4 different groups. And I heard firsthand large buildings that have been condemned when some of these folks were in the 7th grade, and by using their own words, I got gray hair now. Why is that building still there? So I forged a lot of relationships around the parish. Get out, work with people, get on the front lines, lead from the front. Don't ever ask anyone to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. Try to take care of business. Listen to the people on the front lines that know how they can do their job more efficiently and organize how they do their job so that they can get more done during the day, because we've got a lot of great hardworking men and women who work for the municipality that really wish that they could get more done because they take so much pride in their work. And I think that's what I bring to the table is reorganizing from knowing how the municipality works, but I haven't been there long enough to be considered necessarily an insider, but I know from the inside how the municipality works, and talking with law enforcement and talking to the folks who are in areas that are so victimized by crime. We need to reduce crime. We need to dig out the drainage. We need to have people feel protected. We need to deliver the services that people expect to get for the money that they pay, whether it's garbage pickup, whether it's just getting potholes filled, whether it's sinkholes in their yard where the barricades are falling in because it's been neglected so long, or when it's Principal Reginald from Estruma High asking me to get lights replaced down North 38th Street because there was 8 of them out and he was concerned for his students walking to or from school in the dark. All those things, I'm always accessible, and I take a whole lot of pride in being able to solve problems for people, and serving the community has been, other than the birth of my children, absolutely the highlight of my life.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and move right into the questions. I will ask a question followed by directing the question to each candidate as such. Please wait for me to call on you before actually answering your question. First question. How can we improve the substance of police training to reduce incidents of violence against citizens? Councilman Watson.
First off, we need to we have a tremendous amount of training so far. We have 400 plus hours of training, which we've had for since Kip Holden came in. But so often what happens in this community, because of the low wages of police and the morale in the police force right now, we lose a lot of well-trained police officers that might want to serve our community to other locations that pay more and maybe have a lower crime rate. There's it's not really a joke, but a comment that's made about Baton Rouge is that we're police university and we train people very well and then people leave. And now we've got folks that have stayed here that feel like they should keep their head down and not interact and more take reports on crimes that have already happened. Our police officers are overworked. They take on extra duty. We can't have police officers running from call to call to call all the time and being tired from taking extra work to try to supplement their income. That in itself would affect anyone in any job in a negative way. What I would do in addressing our crime problem would be I would make one of my assistant chief administrative officer positions completely over public safety, to be a liaison to our other first responders, but primarily over BRPD. I would attend with my assistant chief administrative officer and proper leadership from BRPD and go out to the community, especially starting with those that have the highest prevalence of crime, explain what they already know of the types of crime that's happening in their neighborhood, then best practices from around the country. Pardon me?
All right, same question, Mr. Piazza.
Yeah, we've got to address crime and the issues that we have with police brutality by putting more officers on the street. I've looked at statistics from the FBI's website that are unbiased. It's just for nationwide statistics. And when you look at other cities in similar size, such as Richmond, Virginia, Birmingham, Alabama, that have a similar population as the city of Baton Rouge, because that's the only part of the parish that these BRP officers are monitoring and patrolling. They have they have higher number of officers, but a lower crime rate. And I say that because in order to effectively give these officers the adequate hours and ensure they're not working overtime and that they're in the best frame of mind when they get to some hostile disputes, if you will, or anything for that matter, they have to be well rested and well trained. And so I think we need a new training program. I know the current administration has put some new training ideas in there, but I'll say that no mayor, president, and no council member has successfully approved an increase in pay. And so to recruit better quality candidates, we have to increase their pay. We know we can do that with the inefficiencies that the current administration has found and the BRPD budget. So we need to give them a $10,000 raise to retain them here, and then also reduce the amount of off-duty work they have to do. We need to put 100 new patrol officers on the street, and we need to ensure that we support them in their entirety. So.
Thank you, Mr. Piazza. Again, you referenced the current administration in regards to your ideologies, and I would like to give Mayor Broome a 30-second chance to rebut Mr. Piazza's response.
Well, quite frankly, my rebuttal will be in the confines of my comment when you call on me to speak.
We'll move on to Representative Marcelle, same question.
That we must look at policing differently and handle it differently. One of the things that we certainly must do is figure out a way to give them an increase in their budget. I think you asked about additional training, and I know from the state legislature, we've been enacting a legislation that would help them with that and funding for it. So we got to continue in those efforts for de-escalation. We've got to address the no-knock warrants in the police department and face that head on. And certainly, as it relates to crime in the police department, I think there was a measure that came up today about defunding the police department, and they were trying to prevent that from happening. I believe that the word defunding is the wrong word. I think that what we need to do is go in and look at the department, see what changes need to be made and where monies need to be moved around. Perhaps that's in counseling for mental health people. Perhaps that's in having officers that are familiar with domestic violence situations, which is exactly where I am right now tonight at the Irish Domestic Violence Facility. Whatever those issues that we face in our community, I believe that we need to address those with officers with specific training. And that's how we would deal with the police department and crime in our city.
Thank you. I will move on to Attorney E.Eric Guirard.
Gerard now, that's right. I think I have as with most of the issues in this race, I have the most forward-looking out of the box idea. I would like to combine the city and the sheriff departments into a new entity, which I am calling the Guardian Rouge. And symbolically, I'd like to be rid of the green and rid of the blue coloring and go with red, symbolizing our red stick, red uniforms, red cars, just the red coloring. That would symbolize a total rework and rethinking of the department. They would be better trained, much better trained. They would be martial art trained and physically fit. And I think that would help. I envision seeing The Rock out there quelling disturbances, because frankly, part of the problem we see around the country is these deadly encounters usually are not handled well, and they have to escalate over to tasers or to deadly weapons of some sort. So we have to have them better trained and better physically fit and martial art trained to get rid of that. This would change the entire thing. We want to have community policing on steroids. We got to get them into the community where they know the community better, much like the cop on the beat in the old New York movies where Officer O'Malley. We want the community to know them so they know officers, the guardians by name. So the important thing is for us to make sure the Guardian Rouge is implemented, combine the sheriff and the city police departments into one new elite crime fighting entity.
Thank you. And Mayor Broome.
Audio.
I've been working on public safety since I first came into office, and I believe that your question focused on education and training, and I was very glad to hear that, because one of my goals has been to move our Baton Rouge Police Department to the 21st century model that was developed by President Obama's task force. That 21st century model includes building trust and legitimacy, policy and oversight, technology and social media, community policing and crime reduction, and officer training and education. Lastly, officer wellness. And we have been tackling and addressing and moving towards each one of them. So as you speak about officer training and education, we have worked on officer training and education specifically as it relates to use of force policies that we implemented, de-escalation, implicit bias training. And so we continue to move towards the 21st century model of policing. While we do that, we also are focused on investing in our community, continuing to close the gap through this improved education, between the citizens of our community and our law enforcement.
Time.
Thank you, Mayor. The next question will be, what specific policies do you plan to implement to create a pathway for new businesses in North Baton Rouge? Mr. Piazza.
Yeah, you know, one of the things that I've said a lot often is that in order to effectively recruit new industries aggressively in North Baton Rouge, we're going to have to be prepared to fix a lot of the issues in that part of town, such as the blight, such as the poverty-stricken areas. But education, as I said earlier, is something that's got to be addressed with, because we can recruit all the industries we want. We can give them exemptions. We can find ways to bring them here. But if we can't give them a workforce, it really doesn't matter, because it's hard for them to retain here. Not to mention, if we get businesses to go to these different parts of town, it's not like there's a vast massive wealth that all of a sudden has been inserted in those parts of town that enables people to spend money. And that's the biggest issue, is that they're not spending money in that part of town because not all those folks have money. So we've got to address inequalities. We got to redevelop some properties. We've got to work with federal grants to ensure we're and change some ordinances so we could hold folks that aren't maintaining their properties. We can hold them accountable. But we've got to fix crime as well. Like I said, we got to hold criminals accountable and reduce the crime, so that when folks do relocate and do want to open businesses here, they can effectively do so safely in our community. And that will help create jobs and opportunities and really help wedge the gap, because North Baton Rouge has been left behind as South Baton Rouge has progressed. And so we can't leave our folks in our parish behind. We've really got to help them out as well.
Thank you, Mr. Piazza. Representative Marcelle.
For starters, with North Baton Rouge, you have to address the crime in order to attract businesses there. Once you do that, I think there's an opportunity to offer tax incentives to businesses to come there, but not only tax incentives. I think that in city parish government, when I was there, I know there were a lot of large contracts. If we can break some of those larger contracts down to maybe $10 million or even $5 million contracts, where some of the small DBEs that I spoke of are able to gain wealth, and then they could get the youth involved in some of the workforce initiatives and train them to be a part of building up North Baton Rouge. Then you have someone who has a buy-in. You have the community with a buy-in. They're working on the project. Similar to what has happened at the fire station in Eden Park on 38th and Gus Young. Not only did we use a DBE company to renovate that building, we also used the people. When I went over to the project, I was excited that the people knew my name. They were from the neighborhood. So they have a sense of belonging, or a unified effort where we're building wealth. We're also changing the building or the infrastructure that we're doing, and we have the community involved in it. We have to give tax incentives to allow people to come in. And, you've got to offer things to students as well. It could be a part of a workforce development plan with BRCC.
Thank you, Representative Marcelle. We will move on to Attorney E.Eric Guirard.
Yeah, go to fusetherouge.org, because particularly this subject matter has a lot of wide-ranging things it touches on, so it deserves more explanation. If you're going to redevelop North Baton Rouge, you got to have that foundation. We already talked about the change in the policing and the crime. That has to be fixed. But the bigger thing, the most important thing, is education. I have a forward-looking program called Fund It, Don't Run It. I want government to fund education, but not run education. I want to take all the money devoted to education in the city of Baton Rouge and divide it by the number of students in this parish and give them each a credit stipend. It'd be about $8,000 a piece to run and go spend it where they want, the school of their choice. It would be school choice on steroids, essentially. And so what you would have is all sorts of new businesses just descending upon East Baton Rouge. And that would be transformational, because it would change Baton Rouge from the bottom of the heap in education in this country to perhaps to the top. There'd be spin-off business. There'd be things we cannot even imagine to this day what would happen if we could change the education, because every tentacle, everything wrong with this parish leads or comes from education. So go to fusetheroofs.org and look at my plan. Fund it, don't run it. Change education massively.
Thank you, Attorney Gerard. Mayor Broome.
So my administration has already started the work on lifting up and reinvesting in North Baton Rouge. Projects such as the Howe Place redevelopment, which is now a medical facility, a building that was empty for 15 years. Projects like the Plank Road Corridor Project, where we now have bus rapid transit and we're going to be revitalizing Plank Road. Instead of a 4-mile bus rapid transit, we'll now have a 9-mile going from Harding Boulevard all the way to LSU. Investment. Choice Neighborhoods Project, one of few in the nations in the Artendale area. Investments in North Baton Rouge. So we've already started the work. Now, this is my vision for the future, to accelerate private investment in disinvested communities. We know that it can occur if we identify site-ready parcels of property and existing buildings that allow for turnkey move-ins for our investors. Also, I want to create a pool of capital that comes in from the private sector and city parish dollars that provide operational and capital expenses for high visible projects that function with startup capital. Of course, we're going to continue to rapidly reduce blight on major thoroughfares. That's going to take place with Plank Road. That's going to take place on Scenic Highway. And of course, we want to create a multi-million line of credit program specifically focused on these businesses in partnerships with.
Thank you, Mayor Broome. Councilman Watson.
There we go. North Baton Rouge is a sleeping giant of economic development in our parish. When I go with the Center Action Team 5, I work with folks 2 and 07, Old South. Really in Baton Rouge, you've got a lot of vacated property. Know that it's high to do it on Plank Road. You want to think in groups, geographic groups, to revitalize certain areas. When you talk about tearing down blighted and condemned, abandoned, dangerous buildings, you can, by tearing those down, you're doing a couple of things. One, you're going to improve people's lives, improve people's quality of place, but those will be the smaller job contracts that Representative Marcelle was talking about. We can reach out to folks to have people pick up the amount of parcels of property that they can handle with the size of the business they've got. So we've got an army to go out, and not just on your main thoroughfares, but right where people live, where their quality of life and where their children's safety is on the line. Go out and change the physical lay of the land, because we've got plenty. I know where all the tax incentives are for North Baton Rouge, and they're very plentiful. Why can't we bring people there even when we're giving them these big incentives? We've got to make change. And it is, crime is an instance, but getting the ground ready for businesses to come in. If we can clear parcels of property and go in and put in the sort of fiber optic, get our drainage done, get sewer done, and modernize all that kind of stuff so it's ready for someone to come in and build something there and get.
Thank you, Councilman. We'll move on to the next question. In what ways have you reached out to the community to address policing the community? And what are some of your plans for keeping the community safe? Representative Marcelle.
Thank you. Great question. Well, let me start by saying I've worked with the police department when I was on the Metro Council and even prior to that. But when I was on the Metro Council, I recognized that we had some issues regarding the community and the police. There was a divide. So what I did was started the process of body cameras for the police department in 2015. I led that fight. It was not popular when I did it. We had a commission with myself and Councilwoman Wicker and the late Buddy Amoroso on there. And we continued to fight until we found the funding. We brought in other cities, we looked at it, but that initiative was started by myself and was passed by me so that law enforcement would have body cameras that not only protected the public and gave transparency, but it also protect the officers. So I was very proud of my work with the body cameras. And then I was gonna further that by adding crime cameras in high crime areas, but the Metro Council saw fit to get rid of the committee, even though they weren't paying them. And that's what happened with that committee. And I extend that same thought now that we need more not body cameras, I'm sorry, crime cameras in the neighborhoods where we have high crime.
Time.
Thank you, Representative Marcelle. We'll move on to Attorney Gerard.
Mr. Guirard, we cannot hear you. You're muted. We have to unmute.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. Your people did that, not me. I apologize. Being in the private sector, I really haven't had a relationship with the police other than through traffic stops, and that's one point that's very important. I would like to get my elite Guardian Rouge, and if you go to fusetherouge.org, you'll see more about this. Get them out of the traffic world. I don't want my elite crime fighting force writing tickets at the corner of Plank and Choctaw. It just doesn't make sense. I want them out there fighting the criminals, the bad guys, the rapists, the murderers. And so with an elite trained force, suddenly you have the ability to concentrate on that sort of thing. And with a combined new entity like the Guardian Rouge, you can be more selective and pick the kind of people that can be better at community policing. That's got to be a whole new emphasis in this new world of policing. Right? Get them out in the community where they know the people, pay them extra to live in the parish, pay them super extra to live in the bad neighborhoods. I think there's all kinds of incentives that you can build in under this new Guardian Rouge theory.
Thank you, Mayor Broome.
As aspiring attorneys, I'm sure you can connect with something the former Attorney General Eric Holder once said. He said that violence is something that affects communities big and small and people of all races and colors. It is an American problem. I would add to the Attorney General's statement that it is a complex problem. But over the past 4 years since I have been mayor president, we have tackled violence in our community. We've tackled public safety. Our numbers were going down in 2018 and 2019. We've invested in our police department. All over the nation, a pandemic where small and large cities exist have seen an uptick in crime. We realize that this solution to crime has to be not only law enforcement, but it has to be coupled with our community. That is why I'm asking our Metro Council to support CARES Act funding because the CDBG Public Services now, because of what is going on with COVID-19, has said that the service cap can be 100% versus the traditional 10%. So this new initiative that will complement community policing will assist with community-based public safety.
Hello. Can't hear you.
Oh my God, this is terrible.
Ms. Marcelle, please.
we can't hear him.
Councilman Watson.
Thank you. We couldn't hear the question or who
Now
you were calling.
I just heard now that I was being called on, so I'll try to be as quick as I can. In my work throughout the community, I found that there are no bad neighborhoods. There's some great neighborhoods that are being victimized at a much historically high rate by violent crime. And what I'm hearing from these folks is they do want more of a police presence. They do want to feel safe in their community. They feel that they're being victimized by people who get arrested and immediately released. And that's not necessarily something that the mayor has control over. That's the judicial system. But, from the bully pulpit, we can certainly call out situations where we've got people who've committed a violent crime and get right back out to victimize people again. As I was saying earlier on a previous answer, I'd make my assistant chief administrative officer over public safety. And that person and myself and proper leadership from BRPD would go out to community meetings, starting in those areas that are right now have a high prevalency of violent crime, and tell them what they already know about the amount of crime that they have in their neighborhood, explain to them what is happening around the rest of the country and best practices by professional police forces to be able to reduce crime, communicate with the community and get buy-in from folks in the community so they understand what they can expect from a police service to be able to reduce crime, and be on the same page and stay in constant communication with the neighborhood to try to rebuild the trust that's been hurt for many different reasons over the past couple of years. We've got to stay in constant communication, and every single officer should be a community police officer, not just a handful who have polo shirts that say community police on it. Everyone should be working.
Thank you, Councilman Watson. Mr. Piazza.
Hey, could you repeat the question so I ensure I cover all aspects, please?
Yes, I can. In what ways have you reached out to the community to address policing the community? What are some of your plans for keeping the community safe?
Thank you. Yeah, similar to Mr. Gerard, I'm in the private sector, so I'm not actively, as an elected official, reaching out to the community. But I have had conversations with dozens of police officers. I've had conversations with former chiefs and folks in the community of north, south, Baton Rouge, Central, Baker, Zachary, all parts of the parish for that matter, to talk about crime and policing and the unrest we see nationally. I think Baton Rouge hasn't experienced as much unrest as the other parts of the nation, but I think that's more to do with the people and the type of culture that we have in our city. We have a lot of great people that live in this state, and so we tend to come together in times of chaos. What I think is important is similar to what everyone else prior to me has said, is that community policing become a critical part of how we move forward. And my idea of community policing is tied directly to my notion of we need to have 100 more officers on the streets. And I say that because when you have more officers on the street and you have an adequate number of folks on the department, then it's not a reactive approach that these officers have to have when they go to problems. They can actually be members of the community. They can know people by first names. They can be seeing them all the time. And I think right now that's what creates a lot of hostilities, that sometimes these folks only see officers when there's an emergency, and it shouldn't be that way. But to the officer's defense, we're shorthanded. And so we've got to put more officers on the street so that they can have a better relationship, and in that, so that they know they're safe with their neighbors.
Thank you. Next question would be, do you have a plan to bring a major grocery store chain to North Baton Rouge? If so, what is it? Attorney Gerard.
FuseTheRouge.org to answer these questions and others. I don't have a specific plan other than I think the best idea is to create the foundation and change North Baton Rouge from top to bottom. When you get that education of the fund that don't run it, implement that, which would be transformational. When you get the Guardian Rouge and reduce the crime aspects, when you fix the traffic, when you just work on business development, generally speaking, it's going to be environment that not only grocery stores, but what about car dealerships? What about cleaners? What about any other kind of business? And I know that grocery stores are particularly a hot item, but I don't think the government should be forcing particular types of businesses or bribing them essentially in there, when if you just fix the underlying problems, fix the foundation that's creating the the lack of desire for businessmen to locate there, then you could have grocery stores will be happy to locate there. I'm a businessman and I want to have a profit. I'm not going to go into an area where I know where it's problematic, where there's crime, where there's labor problems, but you can fix all that. Government should do that to fix things. It shouldn't be in the business of throwing out money to try to entice businesses to go when that's not going to work in the long run. So that would be my idea, be transformational and changing the foundation of North Baton Rouge.
Thank you. Mayor Broome?
Yes, that's a great question, and I'm happy to respond to it because for the past 4 years, my administration has been working with BRAC, the North Baton Rouge Economic Development District, and Together Baton Rouge to not only recruit stores to our community, but also to close the gap in areas of disinvestment. And as of this week, we have had conversations with major local and national grocers. We continue to navigate stores. We launched Go Get Healthy in 70805 to help close the grocery gap there with several $1 million grants where we are offering fresh foods to individuals in that area while we prepare for the grocery store to come. In addition, I took the initiative to reach out to Dollar General because there are a plethora of those stores in our community. And now in many of those stores, they are offering fresh fruits and vegetables. But the main focus is that, yes, we have put incentives together for a grocery store. We've been working with BRAC, North Baton Rouge Economic Development District. And first, we started this journey with Together Baton Rouge.
Thank you. Councilman Watson?
Yeah, this is something that needs to happen. I mean, a grocery store is a different kind of animal than other kinds of businesses. When you're talking about people's health, people being able to eat healthily and avoid other problems, diabetes, heart conditions, and things like that down the line. Now, I voted for money that was on the agenda to go towards study of to get a grocery store in North Baton Rouge. I did have certain things that I wanted to make happen. You know, when you do the Fresh Food Retailers Initiative, like was happening in New Orleans, the percentages of fresh food versus sales of alcohol and tobacco, you could do basically 49% alcohol and tobacco and 51% fresh food and still be considered a grocery store. I wanted that reduced to 20% cigarette and alcohol sales, just because of, you know, the late great Ronnie Edwards, and I know Donna Collins Lewis and Tara Wicker that I've been around for some time all say that North Baton Rouge has plenty. There's no alcohol and tobacco desert in North Baton Rouge. What we need is fresh meat, fresh food, fresh dairy, and get that out there. We need to find a location where people will be able to get to. There's going to be a North Baton Rouge hub for the bus service up there on Airline Highway near North Foster. I think that would be an excellent location because people are coming to that area as it is anyway. We don't want to have people have to walk too far with their groceries. We want to make sure that we get it taken care of for them.
Thank you. Mr. Piazza?
Yeah, I think for too long, North Baton Rouge, as I said in my last answer, has been, neglected, if you will, and forgotten about. We know there are successful businesses over there, such as Tony's Seafood. However, we know that Walmart Supercenter looked at coming to locate over there in the food desert and would have provided new jobs and addressed all these issues of the food. However, crime cannot be addressed with properly, and the rate of theft they had to work in didn't work for them. So Walmart chose not to come to North Baton Rouge. And I say that because if there's no probably better store than a Walmart Supercenter that would have more than just food, some other basic items to address that. And Walmart's got the resources and the manpower to really create some good energy and some good movement in the neighborhood. And for we all know that there's theft at every Walmart nationwide. And so for a brand like Walmart to say there's too much in that area, we can't come there, and for our department not to be able to instill confidence in them that we would address that and we would keep their people protected and we would ensure folks, would not be stealing as frequently. And obviously, you can have you can't control people, but you can ensure you have enough officers and give them the support they need to ensure that theft doesn't occur. My whole point, until we address the criminals and the crime, no one's going to relocate. So we could open up any department store, any type of grocery store, whether they're local or national. But until we address crime, they're never going to survive. And we got to fix that problem, and that stems to education. So we've really got to do justice to the folks in North Baton Rouge, and we got to ensure that they have a partnership with the police department as well as administration to ensure that they can survive. Because as I said earlier, we got it. That's a duty that we have to provide different businesses in the community.
Thank you. Representative Marcelle?
Absolutely. North Baton Rouge has a food desert, and we certainly need to be able to attract some type of full service grocery store there. One of the ideas that I had when I was on the Metro Council was at the corner of Plank Road and Choctaw. And we talked about doing a vegetable market, sort of like a flea market there to kind of spur that development in that area. And my particular project was the Choctaw Corridor. And so you've seen the transformation of Choctaw, and that started under me as a council person. But I believe that one, we could have at least started with a fresh fruit market and have it more like a flea market and have houses on top. Those types of developments is what I think would have spurred some attention to North Baton Rouge. And then moving forward, we could do something similar to Ardendale that was mentioned earlier, that was started when I was on the Metro Council with Walter Mansour and Kip Holden. We started that development where there's a school there. There's going to be a full service school, but there's BRCC, and there's going to be a grocery facility in there. So we've got to create these communities. And I think they did an excellent job in coming together with that project, which also is in my district. Ardendale started when Kip Holden was there, and I was there on the council.
Thank you, Representative Marcelle. We will move to the next question. As mayor, how would you address the chemical plants in North Baton Rouge? Mayor Broome.
Yeah, well, first of all, we understand that environmental justice is an issue that has been going on in the North Baton Rouge community for quite some times. And so I believe that our corporate partners and our corporate citizens have to be good corporate citizens as well. And so throughout the years, through collaboration and communication, there's been a constant work and movement towards some of the environmental concerns that individuals have, specifically in the North Baton Rouge corridor, that for some time has seemed to be the corridor where plants have located. Specifically, I believe that we have to move towards making sure that our environmental agenda is one that is holistic for our entire community, our entire city. And so I believe now that we do have some of our corporate citizens, some of our chemical plants who are being very intentional about their relationship with the community. And that must be kept on the forefront of everyone's mind.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Watson.
Yeah, I was on the Industrial Tax Exemption Committee, trying to formulate the local guidelines when the governor pushed down some control of the ITEP program down to the local municipalities, since we are the ones that are giving up ad valorem property tax. And when I was working on that committee, I worked with Mike Goday, president of the school board. He and I worked together. And one of the things that I wanted to have on it was, since under this current president, we're seeing EPA regulations being dropped. They're not as restrictive as they used to be. So to incentivize industry to do more environmentally beneficial projects, I moved to put in the industrial tax exemption guidelines the same incentive that they would get if they were expanding their business and building new facilities. If they reduced their emissions beyond what was required of them to do by state, federal law, or any court action, they could get property tax abatement off of that cost, which would also include constructing water treatment plants for them to purify water out of the Mississippi River rather than using water out of our aquifer, which, as you know, is getting salinated right now from overuse from industry. We've got to work with our industrial partners. They're massive private employers with 3,000 people at Exxon alone. We've got to work with them, and we can get it done together.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Piazza.
Yeah, I think that the petrochemical industry for a long time now has been a very big factor in the economy here in Baton Rouge. So it's very important that we show our support. We got to be serious, and we got to stop messing around with these folks, because if we keep messing around and not wanting to give them the support that they need, they're going to pick up and move to other states that are gladly welcoming them, such as Texas. So while I do think we need to ensure that the tax exemptions that we are providing, it doesn't need a rubber stamp model, meaning that we maybe have to have some guidelines in place to, that are kind of on a basis per plant, if you will, to determine what type of benefit we provide. We have to recognize the employment they have, what they give back to the community, because most of them, all of them, are actually giving back to the community, and then also the fact that they've committed to stay here. And so they've been here for decades, and they're willing to stay for more decades. So we got to recognize that and show our appreciation, because when we had this issue recently where we didn't show welcomingness, it shows a very unfriendly business climate. And other industries are looking at that as well. And so if we're going to aggressively recruit new industries, as I said, which we have to do because COVID-19 has shown us that our economy is fragile, we have to aggressively recruit new industries that can withstand any type of natural disaster that may come, expected or not. But they have to know that they have a bit of a friendly business climate to do that. And we have to be thankful for the petrochemical industries and all they do for the communities and the jobs they have. And so while I know tax exemptions can be controversial, we have to remember that they do far more and give it back to the community.
Thank you, Mr. Piazza. Representative Marcelle.
Thank you. Great question. Let me start by saying that I filed the legislation so that not only Exxon, but Georgia Pacific would utilize the river to get their water instead of the Baton Rouge aquifer, because we are suffering with the saltwater intrusion problem. I filed that legislation I think 3 times. There was some movement on the commission, and that we already addressed. One of the things that I think we must remember is that we've got to hold them accountable for the EPA guidelines that are currently in place. One of the things that I also believe is that Exxon, for instance, came up with a process by which they notified the people in the neighborhood when there was a leak. And I think we have to stay on the forefront of that. There was a big meeting, I was there, and we have to make sure that people are communicated with and allow them to know what has been released, how much has been released, and whether it's going to be affecting their health. And so we have to stay on those issues as it relates to industry. And yes, Exxon is a big taxpayer here, but there are citizens that live around there that we must protect as well. So we've got to come to the table, meet with them, and make sure that they're doing right by the citizens, as well as providing the jobs that we all like.
Thank you. Attorney Gerard.
Your question wasn't super, I'm assuming it's affected. At first blush, there's not a whole lot I don't think the city would be able to do. Obviously, that's a state and a federal province as far as regulatory and guidelines. Some things can be done with the ITEP. I think it's a good idea to get more local control in all aspects of government, actually. I think the more local control you have over anything is better, because you have the people who live around it and in it, and the voting for the people in that area are the ones who get a little more say-so. But believe it or not, I think that one of the things that could be done, harken back to education, usetherouge.org, go look it up. If you transform North Baton Rouge, back in the day, it was a middle-class area, and the plants were still there. So you got to transform it back into that realm. And when you have a transformational educational system that I'm talking about, fund it, don't run it, all of a sudden you have new business, new home developments, a new mindset in that area. And I think the chemical plants and those type of facilities and those businesses would certainly come on board when suddenly they saw a whole new world of enterprise and opportunity around them. So I say we just transform North Baton Rouge, lay that foundation, and with Fuse the Rouge, and that's how you can accomplish all things like that.
Thank you, Attorney Gerard. At that point, that will conclude our asking questions. We now move forward to the candidates giving their 2-minute closing. Will Councilman Watson, go ahead.
Yes, thanks again to the Southern Law students for putting this on, and thank you for being the moderator to this. Being a member of the legislative branch for as long as I have, I've worked on a lot of things that I've wanted to do that are for the better of the community. And you can take things only so far, and it gets over to the executive branch to execute. And I found myself in a situation where all the things that I wanted to accomplish for our community that I've done through ordinance changes, I need to move over to the executive branch to implement them and make them work. I had one, the hotel motel ordinance to stop prostitution, drug trade, and child sex trafficking in hotels and motels that hasn't been enforced yet. And we worked very long and hard with the hotel motel industry. But in general, I just want folks to know that I want to make sure that everyone across our community can thrive. And I would like to see a time when folks remember back to how bad the state of affairs was in Baton Rouge that we currently have, with blight, with high unemployment, with the amount of crime, and people's talk about how things used to be the way they are now in the future as we've turned things around. And I think I'm the person who, again, can lead from the front, work side by side with people of all walks of life. I've built trust with folks. I know how to do conflict resolution. We certainly have a lot of conflict resolution to take care of in our community. But that's what I want to do. I want to go out and I want to serve every person in the community. I want to be out on the front lines and show that I'm not above doing any of the work that anyone would want to be out there doing. And I want to show the people that serve the people in our community that they're appreciated, whether it be law enforcement, whether it be firefighters, whether it be people who are digging out our canals, whether it be people that work for the garbage company. If everyone is delivering the services that our community should expect and pays for already in a way that they should be getting. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Piazza.
Yeah, thanks again for everyone for being here tonight and those tuning in at home. As I said in my opening statement, what's motivating me to get involved is the continuing exodus of folks leaving the parish. Baton Rouge's budget has surpassed $1 billion at the same time while population has decreased, which I think we all agree is a recipe for disaster. And it's time for someone that understands how budgets work, who can work with people of all walks of life, as I've done in the business success that I've had thus far, and also understand how budget works. And I think that we have to understand that we have challenges that need to be addressed. We got to reallocate funding. We rank 20th in the nation in budget per capita, but 138th in quality of city services. And that is way too far of a gap, because what it speaks true to is the fact that the folks are not getting the best bang for the buck, and quality of life is bad. Additionally, we rank 132nd in places to live, but for retirees, we rank 142nd, meaning that just waking up the next day as a retiree, you live in a worse place than you did when you weren't retired. And so we've got to address the quality of life here in Baton Rouge. We got to work together. I'm optimistic with the turnover in the council of 5 seats that we'll have a new blood and some new leadership. I'm honored that I'm the only candidate that has been endorsed by the Republican PEC here in Baton Rouge. I'm excited for what that brings, obviously, and I think that we have to understand that we have challenging times, and it's going to take a lot of energy, stamina, and persistence. And I know I have those qualities and capabilities to bring everyone together for a better Baton Rouge. So I look forward to that, and I hope you consider voting for me on November 3rd.
Thank you, Mr. Piazza. Representative Marcelle.
Thank you. Again, I want to thank you all for inviting me to participate in this Zoom. I want to make Baton Rouge better. I want to address the flooding issues that we face in this city. I certainly want to address the crime and so much more with the traffic and the infrastructure. I believe that I've shown the leadership skills throughout my career, whether it was on the Metro Council, the state representative office, or just being a citizen. I believe that I want to not only come to the table and tell you what I'm going to do, what I want to hear from the citizens of East Baton Rouge parishes, what is it that they want? I've heard what they don't like. I've already heard that they don't like the fact that we have $1 billion budget, and of that $1 billion budget, we're getting less than 1% of that to DBE businesses. That's minorities, that's veteran-owned businesses, and that's women-owned businesses. I know what they don't want. I want to hear what they want. I know what I can do to lead this city to the next better and higher place. I'm C. Denise Marcelle. I want to make Baton Rouge better, and I'm number 90 on your ballot.
Thank you, Representative Marcelle. Attorney Gerard.
Hi, E.Eric Guirard. I am running on Fuse the Rouge campaign. I am an attorney. I want to thank Southern Law Center for doing this. I went to LSU Law School, but I did take a couple of classes at Southern, so I enjoyed my time out there, and that was very pleasurable. Go to fusetherouge.org and you'll see my 5 areas of importance. Crime, education is number 1. Fund it, don't run it. Crime, of course, with the Guardian Rouge. We have business development. We have traffic, which hadn't been addressed tonight. And we have community relations and what we call quality of life. One thing I want to see done is I want to see a city park changed to the Central Park. We should quit appeasing 17 golfers, and we should have a Central Park that brings the community together in all sorts of ways. I think we should listen to an old proverb that says, "Ode sapere." It's Latin. It means dare to be bold. I think Baton Rouge really needs to be much more bold than it's been. I think I can be the leader that can take us to the next level. I think I can be the leader that can show us a new way to think out the box a little bit more. We are mired in the muck of mediocrity right now. And I want, unfortunately, I want us to have a Coach O, not a Coach DiNardo running the city. So really, there's only one reason why you have 5 challengers running against the mayor, because Baton Rouge is just fraught with problems. Baton Rouge has all kinds of problems that need to be cleaned up. But frankly, ladies and gentlemen, this broom don't sweep. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Gerard. My apologies. Mayor Broome.
Thank you, SU Law Center, for having this forum tonight. You know, the power of leadership cannot be underestimated in this moment, in this season. And in these unprecedented times such as these, let me tell you what I'm reminded of. I'm reminded of my story began on the shoulders of so many. Even as the first African-American female mayor of Baton Rouge, as the first female mayor of Baton Rouge, I can't help but forget that, but remember that I stand on the shoulders of women like Ida B. Wells, like Gwendolyn Brooks, like Shirley Chisholm, Margaret Walker, and so many more. I have demonstrated transformative leadership in trying times. It's been said you can see the character of a leader during times of crisis. Think about it. We've had crisis after crisis after crisis. And guess what? Sharon Weston Broome, your mayor president, has been front and center. You haven't had to look for her. You haven't had to guess what her name is. I have been there. And we have accomplished much over this time with the historic trend-setting Move EBR initiative, which is providing 38% towards DBEs at this present time. We've also entered into public-private partnerships that we've created that have stimulated our economy. And here in 2020, a pandemic, I have led our city through. through unpopular times of mask mandates, through making sure that we had testing available, to making sure our people knew that they were not unattended, but their mayor cares and is concerned about them. I don't know why all of these people have decided to come out of the woodworks that we haven't seen helping our community. But guess what? I've been here and I'm going to still be here with all of you as we move forward.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to thank each and every one of you all for coming out and participating this evening for tonight's event. I would like to also thank Chancellor for allowing us to host this event, as well as the Student Bar Association students that supported me to making this inception become reality. This is more important for the community and the students to be involved, know what's going on, and make a sound decision on what candidate they would like to support. We also want to let each and every one of you all know that your vote matters, and that you should actually listen and act on your vote by November 3rd. And so that you can see the change that you want to see in your community, as well as the city. Thank you all. I would like to thank Mitch O'Connor, as well as Dominique McCraney and Corinne Jones for helping me co-host this event. And again, more so to the Students Body Bar Association of Southern University Law Center. And one more thing, thank you to Jasmine Hunter for helping us get out the information and making this be a smooth success. Thank you. Remember to vote. Your vote matters. Take care and have a good evening. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being prompt with the time.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a beautiful night.
You're welcome.
You as well.
Thank you. 4 years forward.
Thank you for coming.